day after Labor Day, and a lot of conversation about what happened Sunday night in Las Vegas. We are joined by LSU head football coach Brian Kelly. Coach, thank you very much. I know the game's over. You had a long flight back, a chance to reorganize. Just some thoughts from you as you've been able to process all of this over the last day and a half.
Well, I mean, close, hard-fought game. Our guys played with great effort. You know, I think it comes down probably the last 8.5 minutes of the game. We're up 17-13. We come up with a pretty big stop defensively, which we hadn't got a lot of fourth quarter stops to be up 17-13 the last year. And we didn't take advantage of it offensively. We went and didn't execute offensively well enough to run the football where, would have hoped that in that situation we could have sustained a drive and then put ourselves in a good position to put the game away. Subsequently, we punted the football and they went down and scored. We went up 2017. We responded, but only responded with a field goal, tied it up 2020. And then with 18 seconds to go in the game, 2nd and 15 from midfield, they hit a cover 2 hole shot and effectively end the game. So, closing out the game really, Paul, with our perceived strengths, right? It's 17-13. You want to run the football. You want to be able to complement a defensive stop with an offensive possession that leads into points. And then after a score, you obviously want to be able to make a stop there defensively. But, this is a football team that played hard, has a resolve to them, and clearly just needs to play, this game to the very end and make the plays necessary, and play their best when their best is needed. And we'll be all right. This team will bounce back, and this will be a good football team when it's all said and done.
Coach, you've played these monster games the last couple of years, at least since you've been at LSU. Other schools are out there playing some school, winning 63-0, and they feel great about themselves. Do you like, I know I asked you this last week going in, but do you have any, I mean, the schedules are made, but I mean, do you feel these games help you, or do they put more pressure on you?
Look, I want to develop our football team, and I would much rather do it with a win. However, winning a game 73-0 against an opponent that really you're overmatched does not tell you anything about your football team. We know a lot more about our team. We know what our strengths are, our weaknesses are, and we can now move forward and know where our personnel issues are, where we need to be better as coaches, what we need to do in everything as it relates to winning football games. This team prepared very well, but preparing to play the game and actually winning the game are two different things. So now what do we need to do to win games? And some of that's personnel, some of it's in play calling, some of it's in execution late in the game. And that was the case here. So we can go to work on those things and know going into week 2, this is going to be a better football team.
Coach, I know most coaches, especially after a long trip back, are concerned about the next game and getting ready. But since we saw you last on the field, your post-game press conference has been, I've lost count of the number of times I've been part of it or seen it. I saw it on MSNBC today. I've seen it on ESPN. It's been on CNN. I mean, I know that's not, I don't know if that's good or bad. You're getting a lot of attention, but it's kind of weird to ask a coach to react to all the reaction, assuming you've heard any of it. But what are your thoughts on that moment in time, which was very dramatic and emotional for you?
It was just a matter of frustration. I'm frustrated and angry at that we're not getting the kinds of things happening for our guys. Our guys are working so hard. I'll give you an example. Kyron Lacey, right? He gets a personal foul penalty. He pointed his finger at a friend of his. And Kyron's been working on emotional control. He talks about it all the time. And so it's not something that he doesn't work on. And yet it goes against him. And Major Burns is a young man that every single day he's trying to work hard at these things, but they come and bite them at the worst times. And it's just, I'm so angry that these things keep coming up. They just don't seem to get the break. And it was just a matter of frustration that we're not getting the kinds of things to happen our way. The ball was on the ground 4 or 5 times, and it was just a culmination. Right after a game, you go to a press conference, Paul. You know how this goes, right? And you don't get a chance to watch the film or do anything like that. And it was just, there was the emotion of the game coming out, and the frustration and the anger that these kids can't get a break because they're working so hard to break through, and they weren't able to break through. That was really, in a nutshell, what that was about.
Oh, I don't see a cast on your hand. I'm assuming you didn't break your fist slamming it.
Listen, I'm not strong enough to create enough momentum to break a pane of glass.
Well, again, I bring it up because you know the reality, and then you know what the world fixates on in a moment like that, especially when you're the only game of the day and one of the most watched games of the early season.
Yeah, and again, all I will tell you is that I want these kids to win. We put our heart and soul into it, and I know how hard they're working. I don't want them to be perceived as kids that don't care. They care so much. And I know what the perception is, that they're undisciplined and they don't care, and that there's this narrative out there, and it's not true. And I'm just so angry at the comments that I'm coming down the runway. Your guys are undisciplined. They don't care. And that's not true. They are working on it every single day.
Yeah, I know this is almost impossible to answer, but it's what we want to know, and what's next. How do you move from that moment in time to what every LSU fan wants at the end of the season?
Well, you got to move quickly, right? We're already into our Tuesday preparation, right? So, immediately you address what do we do really well. I think our preparation was outstanding. I wanted to let them know that we had some great effort out there. Our guys played with great effort, flying around, enthusiastic about playing. What do we need to do better? We need to finish. We need to finish the game. We were up with 8 minutes and 36 seconds to go in the game. We have to finish. There has to be a sense of urgency in how we play this game, and we have to play it, with better execution. And what we learned is that preparing to play is one thing, but actually playing the game to win with that sense of urgency. So then you just go back to work. Look, there's nothing better, right, than getting back to work. That's where your belief comes. Because when you put in all this time and all this effort, that's where your belief comes. When you work so hard at something, you don't want to give in. You don't want to give anything but the very best. So we'll get back to work and get back on the field. And Paul, that's the best medicine.
Coach, we always appreciate your candor and the time, and we'll let you get back to doing just that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate you having me on.